Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Scandal Panel, and I'm here with my very special guest. It's none other than Malcolm Sunny. Everyone. Hi, hey, Malcolm, would you like to tell everyone what do you do and to get them know a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm a full-time fanboy of Marvel's movies. Yeah, so pretty much that's the reason why I'm here. Other than that, I'm a full-time cat daddy of two, I guess. That's my full-time job. And I'm also a part-time trainer, a corporate trainer. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess we are all fellow Marvel fans. And speaking of which is the reason why we are doing this review today. And it's none other than this very special spoiler review for Eternal. So ahead, spoiler warnings ahead. If you haven't watched this show, please stay away and then come back. When you watch it, you can come back and revisit this again. So tell me, what do you think about the movie so far? You've seen it.
I think let's get the ratings out of the way. Okay, so AJ, how will you rate this movie out of 10? How many popcorns will you give?
How many popcorns are very good questions. I think given like my whole thoughts and after reading the so-called bad reviews by the critics, right? I would say it's somewhere out of 5. I will give it somewhat a 3.5. I would love to give it a 4. I would love to give it a 4 or a 5, but unfortunately, I have certain things that, that really kind of, I have issues with. But then again, there's some things that I like, there's some things that I don't like, and I'll probably emphasize more about it later.
So this film has a 50% ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think we both belongs to the one that actually give it a slightly better ratings. I will also kind of give it a 3.5, which is usually a 7 out of 10 for this whole movie. I feel that on its own, it's okay. On its own, it's okay. But again, there are certain things that I kind of maybe as we discuss along, we'll probably realize why we didn't give them that 3 stars. I think the film to me feels a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy without James Gunn, like without the humor on James Gunn. It feels a little bit like Captain America Civil War. It also feels a little
Russo
bit
brothers.
yes. I think Gemma Chen also kind of reprised a role as in Crazy Rich Asian here as well. So a little bit confusing for me. But then I think Richard Madden really like because he's in the film, so I give him like additional 2 more points. That's the reason why they get 7 now. So I think 5 actually. Honestly, but Richard.
And speaking of trivia, right? Gemma Chan also appeared in an MCU movie. Can you guess what is it?
I know. Marvel.
Captain Marvel, right? Yeah.
Yes, so, I did my homework.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So anyway, but I'm kind of happy that she actually has a very main leading role on this movie, especially she's playing this main protagonist role. More and more so, like, as a role of Cersei, I think is definitely well casted because obviously, definitely stay true to the comic counterpart. Obviously, even for Richard Madden, who plays as Icarus. So obviously his real person and comic counterpart are totally different. And speaking of costumes, right, they're trying to make it very more realistic. And I kind of like the whole costume aspects, whereby the whole touch of the celestial linings and the graphics of the costumes. I think visually it was very appealing, and I think each colors, they kind of represent the colors of their comic counterparts, which I think this is something they actually stay true to it. So on the other hand, I think Chloe Zhao did quite an okay for her job as a directing this movie because basically she's an Oscar-winning director for No Man's Land, and obviously she's a head honcho for this franchise. So, but I think one thing for sure that a lot of people would not really feel about this movie.
But there was a lot of criticism about the directing and stuff. And one of the person that we go to for movie critics and stuff is Grace from Beyond the Thrillers. So she says that there's too many reference to DC, which I kind of beg to differ. I think it was kind of fun, but I do agree on the one aspect is that maybe Chloe Zhao is not a very big comic fan. So she kind of get the assignment a little bit wrong in the sense that sometimes when you're teacher, right, tell you to do something, right, then you maybe you don't quite get the thing, you still deliver a very nice piece. I feel like it's a very beautiful story, but it don't quite have that Marvel typical Marvel kind of feel, for me.
One thing I understand, Chloe Zhao has a very different take on it. That's why a lot of people will say that, if this is not a Marvel movie, this movie would be a very good movie as a standalone. So obviously, there are some people who loves it. There's some people who don't really like it because it doesn't have the MCU flavor. Whereas there's some people say that it looks like a nice independent movie. And I think you and I can agree, right? The cinematography is pristine.
Amazing, all the places. I hope they
Right.
really shoot on location, though. I really hope they did
Actually,
that.
they
Yeah.
did. They really did. They went to places like like Canary Islands, and then they
Yeah,
went to a lot of places like
and the recreation of Babylon was
London as well.
beautiful. The Hanging
And Mesopotamia,
Gardens.
right? Oh my goodness,
Yes,
that was
yes. I was
amazing.
like,
So that's why I think
wow.
Chloe insisted that she doesn't want green screen effect. She really wants to be shot on location. So I believe that's why the cast is like having such a great time. The cast has been raving so much and said they get to shoot at different locations in London, in Canary Islands, in Amazon or something like that. So it's quite interesting, lah. Like, yeah, and obviously with the added effects, right? I'm sure it must be spectacular. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think about the plot, basically, like, the storylines and
Uh,
how it goes with
I
the
kind
whole.
of like that. I came in with very low expectation because I really read some reviews and stuff, right? And then
Mm,
the worst thing that a fanboy likes to see is like, oh, this movie is being trashed. So I was like, okay, I cannot come in with like the expectation that I have for maybe Guardians of Galaxy 2. I cannot come in with the expectation of the third Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok and stuff, right?
yeah.
Or even Shang-Chi, right? So I came out and said,
Mm,
okay, I would just come in with an open mind and see what I can get out from the entire movie. I was
yeah.
really excited for a few facts. First of all, because of the diversity, right? And the inclusivity of the entire film. There's a lot more Asian representative. For once, we actually have like two
Yeah.
Asian superheroes in one. We also have
Three to be correct,
what's the third one?
including the third one is Kumal Nanjiani.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. Oh no, I'm gonna get stressed on this. Yes, we had three. I'm so sorry. Apologies to all
Yes.
my brown folks out there. Yes, we have
No,
three.
it's okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, Kumar Najani, and he's also one of my favorite comedian also. So yeah, I just
Hmm.
about it. And yeah, I think there's a lot of representation. There's also,
Yeah.
obviously Latinos. There's also where who's the actress that play Makiri? Lauren Nair. Yeah. So she also have hearing impaired, right? So I think it's a very very inclusive movie in all aspects, and even the fact that Chloe Chow she's also of Asian descent as well, right? So but I think overall the movie plot what I really like was that there are a lot of plot twists. There's a lot of plot twists.
Yes.
And I would have never imagined this spoiler review, right? I never imagined that
Yes.
Icarus to ultimately become I won't say the
The bad
villain.
guy.
I won't say he's a villain. He's kind of like Thanos. He has his own values, and I think he's right. He's a warrior. He is a soldier, and the role of a warrior, the role of a soldier, is really to follow orders, right? So I think in that regards, he did not. He did his job well, but maybe he did his job too well, which is why we kind of felt that he's a bit cold blooded in the sense that he should not have um okay, I think the what he did to Ajax, I think that's something that is unforgivable.
Yeah, I think one thing I must say, speaking of what you mentioned about the twist, right? I did really have an issue with Icarus because the very fact that they make him like the twisted, like so-called villain edit, which is something like really is very head scratching. And I think this is the reason why a lot of people are not very happy about the movie because I wasn't expecting this as well. Because knowing, right, we have this expectation thinking that, he's going to be the main character, he's going to be the leader of the pack. I know Ajax is supposed to be the leader of the pack. And however, next to Ajax is definitely Icarus for sure, and Cersei, or given both the power couple. It also haunts upon Chloe Zhao's directive, because we all know that Chloe Zhao's have this so-called like very pro-feminist wokeism kind of like direction, you see. So it's some to the progressives, it actually really works. But to the general audience, they will not really sit with them very well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I guess majority of people just don't like wokeism anymore because yes, there's only one thing to embody like female empowerment on female characters, I'm saying. But to kind of like, the direction they keep heading to saying that, oh, women is very good, males are toxic, males are bad. So it really drives a lot of people and it can be a turn-off in some way, which I can totally understand why it's like that. To me, I have no issues if they're going to make Cersei like the big protagonist, like she's going to be the main hero of the story. She's going to be the one to save the earth, the universe and stuff like that. But, again, it really takes away from the whole villainy of the fact that the deviants himself. I really wanted to see more of the deviants, but it's just that they were so downplayed. And they're just nothing but just creatures and everything.
But the deviants were actually the victims, They were actually the victims. They were also created by the Celestials as well. And eventually, there was this one scene where, the leader of the deviants was saying that he's kind of doing this because he's fighting for their own survival. And I thought, wow, that's quite sad.
In the end of the day, right, it's like, I think also it's a story to tell everyone saying that the villain is not really the deviants. So in the end of the day, right, the evils is not really the deviants, nor the big baddie is Icarus, but ultimately the ultimate baddie of all is Erisham.
Yes,
so
Erisham.
He's the one who created all this hoo-ha.
It's kind of like life, right? Like politics, we were fighting, right? We hate one another, we try to kill one. But who was the one that created the politics in the first place? So that is the ultimate reason, right? People are fighting, right?
Yeah. And also you're right, because it does actually come to bring to thought about like, sometimes who's the one who created us? Do we question our government? So there's a lot of things that wait in hand, you see. So sometimes it's like not everything that the big out there is always the good one, but there's always a question of
actually this is a philosophical movie, right?
Yeah,
if you think about it that way, right? And I think there's also a lot of questions about like love and life as well. Actually, one of my favorite characters is actually Sprite, because she's just so cute, and and you think she's quite useless, right? But she's very good at sneak attack, and I was thinking that why would we want to have someone like Sprite in your team? Like, her illusions are not even real, right? But she has her own way of fighting or casting her illusion in a way where it did benefit the situation, So I was like, oh, that's interesting,
Especially the part where she went multiple, like she did like a Doctor Strange multiple to distract the
first part, right?
That's a very good defense mechanism.
Or even the last thing, right? Or how she had a sneak attack on Cersei, right? But I think it's also on the other hand, a deeper level, she as a character, because I think she's considered one of the main character, or considered. She has a bit of a story arc. And then how eventually all she really wanted was to kind of have a normal life. And I think that kind of boils into like our LGBT, life as well. And then one day actually what we want, also a normal life, just want to like get married, be with somebody, right? But sometimes we just couldn't. And maybe that's the way we are being made. And then she questioned, why am I made this way? And I think no one actually could answer her in that way,
Can you imagine it sucks to being in your child state the whole entire life? I mean, there's like no one can take you seriously. No one will treat you with respect because they think that you're just a child, but not knowing you're actually 7,000 years old.
And worse, your power is like nothing, like you cannot bitch that someone. What can you do?
And you're not a fully developed adult. You don't have the,
it would be funny if she is like King Cole, right? Like, so if you insult me, I shoot laser beam, pew, or like Gilgamesh, right? Say something that I smash you up, right?
Yeah, so speaking of pew pew pew, right? It's like, I'm just so not sure about Kingo's power though. It's like
Okay, let's talk about different characters. Let's talk about different characters since we are talking about it now. Let's start with Kingo. So
Yeah.
you're saying that you don't really quite.
To be honest with you, bottom of my heart, okay, I have nothing against Kumail Nanjiani. Okay, I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great comedian, but somehow I find the casting of him as Kingo was a little bit wrong. First and foremost, all right, I am a big fan of samurai. Okay, so honestly speaking, that takes away the whole entire origin character of Kingo, which is like he was supposed to be this samurai person. So, and I'm just wondering, like, why the reason for like casting not a non-Japanese to replace the role of this, and instead casting to replace him as a Bollywood actor. And also another thing is that I just don't find him convincing as a Bollywood actor, believe it or not. Come on. And it's like he's like, he just do this. And he's like, and then you realize that all this while the only things that showed of him was wearing his Bollywood costume and he's having his muscular arm, which is what he worked so hard for. But there's no shirtless, nothing.
But I must say, he was very good looking there for the costume. But I do agree with you that it kind of feels like diversity for diversity's sake. Like the script was kind of changed or things were changed just to kind of squeezing a character. I do feel that he doesn't quite feel like in place in the whole and but I do like his cameraman though, very cute, his assistant. The one
Yes,
that,
his character is really as the comic relief.
He's the MVP, and he's the MVP, like he keeps shooting no matter what. And he was like, "Did you catch that on tape?" He was like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "Oh, okay, wow."
Exactly. How many cameras do you have actually? One camera destroys after another, and another one just pops up from nowhere. So he's really a very, very useful assistant. I mean, like, I wish I can employ him to assist me. He is such an amazing assistant.
Yeah, he's very good. His motivational speech also, he was the one who convinced King Cole to just go, on his hero quest, right?
Yeah. So you always need to have this kind of like a balance of like the Jiminy Cricket kind of role on that. So moving on, right? So speaking of like racial swap, right? So we have Gilgamesh, who also happens to be played by Don Lee, who was also starred in Train to Busan. So what do you think of his role?
Oh shit, he's the one who was starring in Train to Busan. So point his smashes was like so familiar. He used the wrist to like block against whatever.
And then he got bitten, so it's like
I like how there is kind of multiple love story and how he and Angelina Jolie's character Tina, not Athena, Tina, okay? Drop the A. Drop the A, I remember. Tina. Well, he's really sweet. It's kind of like a Hawk and Black Widow kind of role, where he was, it's just reverse gender, where he was the one who was trying to like calm her down and so on. And I kind of like they also kind of like a power couple as well, like more balanced.
Sure. Do you think that Gilgamesh is in love with Thena? Because I somehow get the feeling that Thena is just friend zoning him.
More than friends, more than friends. But they are not there. They are not there, but they are. Well, housemates, they're housemates. They live together literally, right? They're more than friends,
Speaking of which, it's like because he kind of like he was fighting all the way to the extent that he sacrificed his life, to protect Tina, and Tina was down there, like trying to try to keep reminding herself, like she's somehow like a let loose. Which that part, to be honest with you, I did not did much research on that, so I have no idea what is her issue. Is why is she struggling? Why is Angelina Jolie struggling with all these thoughts about like trying to kill every Eternal or something like that? Is she on the so-called Terminator mode that she auto unleash or something like that?
Kind of. I mean, I also didn't do a lot of research into this, but from what I understand from the movie was because they are kind of like robots, right? So they kind of reprogramming again and again. So she kind of got triggered. It's kind of like trauma, right? It's like PTSD, right? So every time you get PTSD trauma, you get triggered and then you remember certain things and so on. So I think she was kind of having the internal version of PTSD in that sense,
Yeah.
In that manner. But
speaking of another. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I feel like bitch slapping her sometimes. Like, just wake up and just fight. We need you. That kind of thing.
Exactly. Sometimes I just wish you just unleash her like her full power and just wipe everybody out. Doesn't matter you end up killing us, but we want you to kill the
I feel like
deviants
she's
first.
holding back. Even her weapons are quite small. I feel like if you want, you go all out. Right? You kind of like Green Lantern, right, where he really go all out.
Yes.
With all his weapons. My point is her weapons are so small.
Speaking of which, that's why people are also complaining, right? Her fight scenes are so limited. Even though she has
Very
a minor
expensive
fight
lah.
scene
She's very expensive.
in a way that if she's very expensive, they could actually fully utilize her to actually. But I was being told that when she was auditioning, when she was meant to play Cersei role, but in the end, the role went to Gemma Chan instead. So speaking of power couples, let's move on to Druik and Makari. Do you sense there's something going on between them?
Okay, Druik and Makari definitely. I think they are kind of like in the dating mode. That's very obvious. Do you like Druid?
I find him very droopy. That's a very Druid.
I find that I have mixed feeling about him. On one hand, I do stand for his, fact that he wants to stop all wars and stuff. But then he still also might control his own tribe of people, right? And make them do his right thing. But I also don't quite understand how his powers can come into handy, when doing a combat scene, unless he has humans around where he can mind control with the weapons, right? It's not a very handy kind of power, even in this sense. It's
very, very handy. But that's why Ajax had to keep under control, because there's only so much you can mind control people, because that's not it's against the so-called protocol.
Then if you mind control, then the humans die, then how? Then of course Ajax plan is to the humans alive as much as possible, right?
Especially the part where she always keeps saying, right, especially during the trailers, we are told not to interfere. And I'm like, duh, interfere and what happens? So it's like, and then it's like after the whole bleep, it's like when Kit Harington was actually Dane, he was saying that, why didn't you guys stop Thanos during the snap? And obviously said we are told not to interfere. And then somehow the whole interfere, are they not existing or they're still existing in the world? That's the thing. That part, there's a bit of a plot blur in aspect, so I'm not exactly very sure what's going on. But that part, I feel that it wasn't addressed properly.
They just try to smoke us, I feel. There's a certain part they just try to smoke us with beautiful scenery. Then they change to another location, another time. That's how I feel like certain things that's not addressed. Then suddenly, this is a nice, beautiful scenery. Then I've got wow, this is beautiful. Then I forgot, what was the issue we were thinking about earlier?
Okay, it derives away from the main plot, right, of the entire storyline, right? So, very clever, but at the same time, not convincing enough. So, yeah. But anyway, I that's why also the trailer also giving us it's more like a clickbait. It's already misleading us thinking that Druid is going to be the ultimate baddie, right? You see how the way he rebel against, but turns out, the plot twist, not true. So,
I feel there's quite a few plot twists which I do enjoy. I do enjoy about it, So yeah,
yeah, but it's also speaking of the delay of the whole because the characters, there's too many characters, they're altogether 10 Eternals.
So who's your favorite character then?
I would say my favorite character definitely out of all is actually I wanted to say Thena, because she's very conflicted. Just like
we win a rate in terms of maybe who's our favorite in terms of the personality, the person itself, and who's our favorite in terms of the powers. I think that would be a better choice. So we have two votes. Okay, so in terms of personality, who do you like best as a person?
Okay, I would say overall definitely Cersei to me, personality. She's the all-rounder. She's like the mother of all mothers.
She's reprising her role in Crazy Rich Asian, the very benevolent, rich, tai, yeah.
And I love her accent. And Gemma Chan actually really impresses me.
She's British, by the way. You didn't know, right?
Yes, she's British. Yeah, but some reviews actually call her American actress. I'm like, how dare you, American?
But
Like, oh.
to everyone who acted in Hollywood, they're American now.
Well, I guess so. So but in terms of powers, I definitely would say I would like Makari.
Oh,
It's the
Makari
yeah,
is quite common though. I mean, she's a speedster, but
the
I do
speedster.
like
Yeah,
that she can hold her weight against uh Richard Madams is
Icarus, right?
Icarus. Yeah, I like that she did manage to create enough damage lah, to Icarus. Yeah.
But she's not that powerful because after Icarus managed to catch her and then she started like slam her to the ground. Before, okay, I take that back. Maybe my next I mean, my favorite powers will also be Festos because of his ability to invent.
Yeah, I
And
want to
speaking,
say that already. Then you say already. Okay, so
oh, okay,
I'm
okay,
on the same thought as you. In terms of
yes,
personality wise, it's definitely Cersei. In terms of power wise, my number one is actually Festo. I am amazed. I always because they put it up in the fact that he's kind of like a inventor, engineer type. Like
yeah,
behind the scene background kind of work. But his inventions are actually very powerful. He reminds me
yes.
of Hunger Games, that guy who's also very good at inventing.
The inventor, yeah.
And he also
So he's
reminds
the
me.
one who imparts all this wisdom to humans. He teaches humans how to like about
He
technology
was
and
the one who
stuff like
created
that.
atomic bomb.
Atomic bomb. So that he was like, no, he wasn't responsible, but he kind of like he inbuilt the brains and the technology to people. So when humans use those technology and knowledge, right, to create an atomic bomb, so he felt it was counterproductive. He felt that he has failed. He has taught too much. He's taught too well.
I do
Sorry.
like Cersei's power as well, because eventually, guess who saved the day, right? But I think that because she is more of a pacifist, so her power has
Yes.
always been seen as very defensive. But I was really
Yes.
hoping that so there was one scene where she actually used her power to get rid of one of the deviants, right? I was like, yeah, you
Yeah.
go, girl! Like you should have been using that all along, right? And I think one of the things that all the flashback in the past is I feel that there's a bit of power imbalance. It's always the five people who are fighting. If you see some of the
Yeah.
trailers, right, it's always like five fighters and five thinkers. Then every time it's the five fighters who are fighting. And then the
Yeah.
other thinkers, then they do what? They try to get the humans away from the fight scenes. And that's my question, like, then what do they
Yeah.
do? They don't fight, man. Then cannot be what, then why would they be created? So I find like
Hmm. So I know I agree with you saying because I think Cersei's power, even though it's like it's almost kind of give me the very same category as Jean Grey or
mm,
Scarlet Witch. They always seem like they are the very passive one, but actually they are one of the most powerful because
mm.
manipulation of matter is so important. Imagine you can turn the whole entire bus into butterflies or like
Yeah.
flowers.
The only thing she
The kind of
cannot do is
stuff
to turn you into a giraffe, lor.
that's about exactly Dane, right? Kit Harington say, "Oh, I was hoping they wanted you to turn me into a giraffe." The kind of stuff. That was a very clever joke, lah. But I think for me, yeah, I agree. Like Festos, in terms of powers, right? Having the brain of invention is so important because we can always thinking of like new technologies and also about the part of him, being an LGBT character. What are your thoughts of that?
I
I mean,
love
you should
it. I
feel
really
proud,
love
right?
it. I was so afraid that they would cut it off because Singapore, and then there have been thoughts of MDA or whoever will be cutting it off and so on, right?
Oh
Of course,
yeah.
it's been given M18 rating.
Mm.
And then his scene came in so late, right? I thought, oh, did they cut off the scene before I even knew about it?
Yeah.
And then I was waiting for that long-awaited kiss, and it happened. And I was like, oh wow, yay! Positive representation of our community.
Yeah,
So
I mean, to me, is that finally we get a representation. Especially most of the mainstream movies, right? Since the last time we actually saw an LGBT, like mainstream, right, was actually the Rise of Skywalker, where it was like we
mm,
saw the two women kissing, but
mm,
unfortunately, that was censored in Singapore, which actually caused a lot of backlash and a
mm.
lot of uproar from like why do you do that actually? I think that was very unnecessary. So I think somehow IMDA decided to introduce
Interesting.
that.
So do you think that Singapore is ready
Yeah.
now?
And
Oh,
I
thank
think also
God.
because
We
of fact,
found
yeah,
it.
praise God, right? Praise God, like literally praise God. It's like because I think also because it does also show like family unit,
Yeah,
whereby
precisely. That was the one thing that I wanted to say. That I feel that like in the gay world, right? Like you can if you
yeah,
show like a character coming out, that's one level. Like okay, if first of all you
yes,
have a gay character, that's one level. Then if the character come out openly, that's another level. And the character has like a healthy relationship, that's another level, right? And the ultimate level
yes,
is to see like a healthy gay character with a family, right? And to
yes.
put that in, I think it's good. So kudos
And
to
I
you,
think it's
man.
good. Yes,
Yeah.
I really 100% support it because I think ultimately on the day, Singapore is always like that, lah. It's always about promoting family. So that's why you see all the local media cop show, right? It's like either talk about police or it's either family shows. So they really want to encourage, like, yeah, family
Yeah, by all
bonding.
means, encourage gay families. I'll be happy. I'll be
It is
happy.
true. It's true. I
Reason for
mean,
me
we
to
are
go
still a
on date.
long way. We're still a long way from being progressive stage, but I think it is a minor step to something greater good. So, yeah. Awesome. And of course, obviously, it didn't sit well for a lot of countries. So it's being banned in all the Middle Eastern countries for sure. And I'm not sure it's going to be banned in China, but I think most probably will because China hates Chloe Zhao. I think we all know, right?
Yeah,
So,
well, I think it's very bold of Marvel, or rather of Kevin Feige to just like fuck it, man. I just want to do movies that resonate with of course the primary audience will be within US,
yeah.
right? Because even
Mm.
Shang-Chi's not showing in China, and then we're like, yeah, we're just gonna do it. We're gonna cast Asian American people. I don't care what his political views are or whatsoever. So I was like,
Yeah.
kudos to you, man, Kevin.
Yeah. So other than that, it's like overall, I think this movie definitely to me it was a 3.5 popcorn rating, and also for you, right? So
I
definitely
think
of all, yeah,
I think there's a lot of like it's actually a very bland popcorn, but because of all this representation, all these little nitty gritty things, right? It kind of really
right,
spice up a lot more. Like I said, as a joke in the beginning, right? Like actually, it will probably be a 5, but because of Richard Madden, because it becomes a 7, right? But beyond just him, right? It's all these factors that we talk about that I think it push it up to a 7 for me. Otherwise, it would have just been passing. Considering
yeah.
this as a Marvel movie, not as just a standalone movie. Yeah.
So speaking of passing, do you think Icarus actually really died when he flew to the sun?
So
I do
I
not know,
like I
right?
like that reference. I like the reference, but I also feel
The
like
Greek
this
Greek mythology reference, right? Yeah.
yeah, but this movie kill off a lot of very powerful characters. So the question now is, do you think that Eternals will come back?
I suppose so because knowing as such, right? As they were talking about the end of the movies, they are on a so-called mission to reach out to other Eternals from
Hmm.
other galaxies.
Okay, so my thoughts
Okay,
on whether
yeah,
Icarus will come back. Uh, at the end of the day, this is comics, so there's always rewriting of things to happen, right? Of course, if you ask me
yes,
personally, I really hope that Icarus will come back. So I really don't
I
know,
hope
but I
so
really
too.
do hope. I do hope so. Yeah, he's the reason why I went to watch the movie lah and pay $15 for it lah.
I know. I mean, after all, it's Richard Madden, right? Come on, man. Like Game of Thrones fans out there, you should know the reunited of the Stark brothers. Anyway, moving on, introducing more sequel. Hopefully, they will have more Eternals, right? What do you think of the mid-credit scene whereby the sudden cameo of Pip and Eros?
Well, he has two names. You can either call him Star Fox of Eros. Okay, I prefer Star
Okay.
Fox. Eros is
Oh, I
too
didn't know that
erotic.
actually. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
okay. Okay, fun fact now. Okay, so wait
Okay.
he was originally called Eros. That was his birth
Right.
name. And then when he
Mm-hmm.
joined, ultimately when he joined Avengers in the comics, then they give him
Right.
like the code name now. Then they call him Star Fox. And do you know what is his
So that
power?
explains.
Do you know his power? His
Okay, I'm
power
not
is to
sure about that.
make you fall in love with him.
Ah, that explains it. Cupid, Eros. Okay,
Yes,
that makes
yes.
sense. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, that's one of
Wow.
his
And
powers.
speaking of it, it's none other than Harry
Harry
Styles. Oh my god.
Styles, which I
Ah,
never had a
it was-
crush on. I never had a crush on. Harry Styles is kind of like to me like very Korean-ish kind of look, you know. Then but when he look,
yeah.
then when I saw him in the costume, I was like, oh, who is this? Like damn.
It's hot, isn't it? Actually.
I was like,
Then with his haircut short, right? It's like, wow.
yeah, I
And
was
he
like,
looks
well,
so good.
but he feels very Shazam though, right? Very Shazam, you know
Yeah, no, with the
colour.
whole logo thing,
Yeah,
right?
so I was like, for a moment I was confused. I was like, is this a DC movie? Because they've been talking about Batman and Superman. Then suddenly Shazam can come out from the picture,
Suddenly,
right?
this ginger hair character came out from nowhere, right? Speaking of ginger, also there's another ginger leprechaun. So the name of Pete. So I think that was a very interesting character. That one I'm not sure. So I guess there'd be more to know lah about the sequels. You know, should that ever happen again? But speaking of the sequel, would there be a possibility of like listed on the very end credits scene? Where actually Dane was picking up this ebony sword. And what do you think that's going to transpire? What are your thoughts on that?
So I did some research. So if you know, Blade the movie is coming out soon. Okay, so it's gonna be,
Yes.
if I'm not wrong, next year. Oh no, I forgot the release date. So most likely, he will come back as Black Knight. And Blade's going to assemble his group of, I don't know, vampire hunters or whatsoever kind of thing.
Wow.
But I feel that Blade's universe kind of belongs to the Doctor Strange kind of universe, where it's a more optimistic kind of thing. I feel like Eternals is more towards the Guardians of the Galaxy
Cosmic.
kind of gang. Yeah.
Very
so now,
cosmic,
now,
very galactic.
correct. So now there's kind of like three different worlds in Marvel now. Like you have the cosmic world, you have the mystic world, and then you have like the normal people like us or Spider-Man.
The Avengers are like based on Earth and kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
We shall see how, because speaking of cosmic, also intergalactic. I mean, obviously, upcoming would be No Way Home, right? So we have going to have Doctor Strange and stuff like that, and I really can't wait to see what's in store for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So it's coming up soon next year. So
who
definitely
knows?
looking
Maybe the Black Knight may make appearance.
You never know. And obviously featuring our favorite Wanda. I can't wait to see Elizabeth Olsen in action. That's where she will unleash her full primistic powers.
Well, maybe there will be a plot twist. Maybe she's not the villain in the film also.
Never know, right? There's always there's always
just like with Eternal also. I will never know that. Oh, okay. Wow, my hero become the villain ultimately. I mean,
yeah.
regards, Yeah.
All right. It's anyways been such a pleasure to do this review with you. And don't forget to catch out any of our future episodes of Scanner Panel. And if you have not, do actually catch our past episodes as well. We also did a lot of reviews on Snake Eyes as well, and also for our reviews on our No Way Home trailer.
Shang-Chi as well.
And Shang-Chi as well. So do keep a look on that. All right. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Malcolm. Nice to have you.